Okay, so all right, so here, this is Anthony. I'm making another video. I will be making a pagan testimony, part two of it. But before I do that, I kind of wanted to show a part of my journey is as I look towards like genetics and ancestry and all that good stuff, the more scientific side of it. And it's kind of like maybe this will be helpful to people who are trying to read ancestry sites and whoever they decide to use, and wherever their roots may lie. And I hope this might be good for people. And but I'm gonna go quick on it because I'm going over four. I'm going over four. Four of them is one is the one I'm looking at right now is CRI genetics. The next one is ancestry.com. And then I got 23andme and Myheritage. So basically, so now I'm going to start here in a minute. So let's just look here. Okay, so right here we got, so here's, now this one kind of surprised me a little bit because the reason I am using this one first is because it logs out after a while. So I'm just going to do this one first. So I just want to say this one was a little bit confusing to me because one, it's saying that I'm like 30% Italian, so it's like almost a third of my DNA. And I don't know if that's in relation to maybe well, there's what was it, the Germanic people, like the Lombards, the Goths mainly, that came through Italy and pretty much sacked Rome and took over. And it's kind of a mystery on who exactly the Goths are, because they have, it seems like they have, their names are a little bit different from like Scandinavian people. And some people are saying that they came from Ukraine or somewhere. Some are saying that they could have been the Scythians and then they just got the name the Goths, And so I'm not quite sure, but anyways, yeah, so that one surprised me because it doesn't actually show that much Italian on the other sites. So now we got 25% Germany, which I kind of believe that, because before, when I first took 23andme, it did show that I had like 20% German. So, and I do have a lot of German people in my what was it? My family tree. Sorry. And so, yeah. And then we got British Isles, which it only left me at 11%, which is kind of weird because usually that's the biggest one. It's mainly referring to, for the most part, referring to Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. So that one's a little confusing. So I'm not 100% sure on that one. But another interesting thing here is, well, they got this surprised me, which on the others I have sorry, let me put that into context. The Jewish, that one surprised me because I didn't know I had any of that in any ancestry of that at all. But I did find some Ashkenazic names in my family tree, so it kind of checks out. And Usually the others, it shows like a tenth. It actually shows a little bit more than 7.8%. And so like I would say it's like a tenth. And let's see, now Spain, now I don't know what this could be referring to when it says Spain. Like it's kind of talking about modern conventions when it's, you know, talking about these different areas. So, you know, I have to look at the modern, but then from there I have to go to the ancient and then look into you know, the history and you know, look at haplogroups and all this other stuff, and so that's good. And so then we got France, and that could be related to the Gaulish people, and there's Spain too, you know. So I mean, there's a lot to go there, and then so I don't know how they're reading this. And then there's Southern Central Slavic, which I would say that's I don't know, maybe that's I don't know, Bulgaria and Serbia and maybe Croatia and Macedonia, you know, just those different areas. So I would kind of believe that because you know, just knowing where my dad's ancestry comes from. Like my great grandparents immigrated from Italy, so there could have been some migrations going on before that, and you know. So, and then there's Greece, which I do believe because I was hearing that my grandparents' parents come from Sicily, so yeah, there's quite a bit of this going on in the Scandinavian, and there's not a whole lot of that, to be honest. It doesn't show up that much on 23andme either, but yeah. So I mean, so this is basically it for CRI genetics, and so now let's move on a little bit. So we got over here, we got it's a little bit more British Isles centric, I guess. But here we got England and Northwestern Europe. So see, this is where it confuses me a little bit, which, you know, I do believe the Scottish and Irish, so it's like a third of my DNA is from that. And then there's England and Northwestern Europe. So it's basically anything coming from these countries right here. So yeah, so that's a lot of ground to go by. I don't know why this bubble splits off and just goes to Switzerland, but that's beyond me, but whatever. So let's go back here a little bit. Okay, and then, like I said, look, the European Jewish, so they have this a little higher, and it's more or less consistent, you know. So, you know, it's around a tenth, and you'll see a little bit more of that on the others too. Then there's Southern Italy and Greece and Albania, and they only have this at only 10%. Like if you add that up, the Southern European, and they separated Wales too, so it's excuse me, it's a bit of a mystery there. So then we got, yeah, and then we have Germanic Europe here, and they only have that at 9%. So I don't know exactly what they can mean. So if I look into this, you know, it's covering a lot of ground here. So you got these places right here, but I only found ancestry from these two areas right here. Okay, so and taking that off, I'm sorry. And then we got the indigenous North America, Native American. And so I do know that Ancestry.com, I would think it's a little bit more, English centric. So it wouldn't surprise me if I do have a chunk of this showing up. And what was I gonna say? So maybe that would connect to this in some way, because Germany is one of these areas. So and there was extensive migration, like I said, from Germany to England. And actually, I never said that before. But yeah, they had like Danes, Saxons. They even had the Winds. I read somewhere they moved. Some of them migrated to Wiltshire, I believe, and I read that somewhere, and I don't know where I read that at, but and I don't know how much truth there is to it, but it does sound plausible, because I'm kind of veering away from the isolationist point of view of historians based on migratory patterns. And I mean, there's still some isolation, of course, but there was a little bit more of a diffusionist, a little bit more of a diffusionist way of looking at things. So, okay, so there we go. So now we got 23andme, okay, and so just to get down to it, I'm going to show you the before and after, because it gives me that option. So so now we have now it's setting my it's adding British and Irish together. So I'm assuming they have all the Irish, the Scottish, the Welsh. So there's the Celtic side, and then I guess they have the little bit of English too, or they have some of the English. So there's the like Germanic side, maybe Saxon. I do have some Saxon names, I think I found some like not Anglo-Saxon but straight up Saxon names in my family tree, and I was wanting to look more into that, because there's some type of enigma to Saxons that I didn't realize before, which I really want to look into that, and where they came up. And okay, so we have that, and then we have the French and German, which the only place that I see that it came from is here in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern in Germany, and that's the only area that has a significant match, which is kind of strange to be honest. Let's see, yeah, and just here, and that's exactly where the winds are, and that's why I'm mentioning the winds a lot, because I keep seeing these traces and I keep seeing these different clues, and So just to throw that out there. And then there's the Scandinavian, which just a little bit, and then we got Finnish. It's like a trace amount. It's like 0.2. It's not a whole lot. And then broadly, which with the broadly, it's basically, it said as far west as Ireland, as far north as Norway, and as far east as Finland, and as far south as France. So that's covering a lot of ground there, and so I found that a little bit weird. And then, but yeah, it's, I guess they all intermingled and mixed, you know. If you think about the Normans, you know, they mixed a lot. So you know, there's that to take into consideration. And I'm sure the Scandinavians, or like the ancient Norse and the Sami, they possibly mixed to some degree. You know, if you think about that too. But you know, it's I don't really know for certain the exact admixture, but yeah. So moving on. So we got Southern European, and we got 22%, which about a quarter, you know, so it's believable, you know, knowing my dad's side of the family. You know, my dad, he's half Italian, so I would say I would have gotten some of this. And you know, Italy's kind of like a central hub for Southern Europe, you know, and even bits of Central Europe too, because you know, a lot of people just came in through there. Same could be said for Germany. It's kind of a hub, you know. Anything in the center of Europe is basically a hub. And you know, we got Sardinian, Greek, Balkan, yada 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 yada. And then we got Ashkenazi Jewish, which is about the same. Like I said before, it's been more or less consistent, like around a tenth. And then we have it's like about 1% Native American. That's a little bit more consistent too, because I think Ashkenazi and Native American is both very distinct markers, so it's easier to point that out from the rest of this. And let's see, last but not least, okay, so now we got Myheritage. So here's my ethnicity results here. So, and it basically shows kind of what I thought, you know, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. So that one's a little bit more or less consistent. So like I do know like a third of my DNA is like Scots, Irish, Welsh, you know, and then, you know, it's like a mouthful if you're explaining that to somebody. So I don't even try. I don't try to explain all that to people. But like I said, basically I'm American. But and then there's Scandinavian, which that's a little different. I guess it's mixing the German with Scandinavian and whatnot, and maybe it's referring to the Danes, even the Saxons too, you know. So and the Jutes, you know. So yeah, I guess that's how they interpreted it, because there is a North and Western European, but it's saying I have 0% of that, and I guess I gave all that to Scandinavian, so that's a little confusing. And then we got 16% Italian, so about the same as 23andme, and then the Ashkenazi Jewish, like I said, more or less consistent, and then we got English, which I got a little bit of English, and kind of like how I predicted. Greek and Italian, South Italian, so that's about, you know, the same as 23andme. Like that's how it's the naming convention for it. And then this surprised me a little bit, and then it's the North African. I guess that's related to maybe the Southern Italian a bit. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. And the Sardinian, you know, and maybe Spain, whatever. And so maybe that's where that came from. You know, there's either the Berbers or the Moors or somebody. And then we got Nigerian, the 1%, which I've been hearing people has been getting a random 1% of Nigerian for some reason. I don't know, like I'd never seen Nigerian in my other tests, so, and I haven't found anybody in my family tree that was Nigerian. So I mean, just given the data, if I'm looking at this, I would have to think that's a false a false positive. Yeah, and then there's the West Asian, which is 5%, which I have seen this in other tests, so there's that. So yeah, and I don't know what to make of that, but and I'm kind of going to do another video, kind of like a review of all that and what that means. And for like people, just kind of like how these modern naming conventions would mean to other people. Like, I'm not just going to go over mine, I'm going to go over like anything else, like, you know, stuff that I don't have. And you know, maybe that could help people out, who's, you know, anybody who's on like a pagan, you know, ancestral path, and you know, just kind of like learning the history of these areas. So I know this video is a little bit long, so I'm going to end it here real quick, and hope everybody has a good day, and may the gods bless you, and peace.